quick first impression for three mice I recently got: the GPX 2C, Delux M800 Mini Pro, and the VT7 Max. Now, starting with the one that I'm actually the most excited for, the VT7 Max, I'm just gonna jump straight into shape coverage first because this is why I'm excited about it. If you can see, it's an asymmetrical Viper V3. Right, so you can see how the thumb side curves while the pinky side is very flat. In the hand, it just feels incredibly comfortable, and this is one of the most interesting and nice shape I've ever held. And to be honest, the rest of the mouse really isn't far behind from the Viper. The clicks feel almost identical. They're both using opticals and they feel very similar. The scroll wheel is a little tighter on the VT3. The side buttons are very nice and spammable. Not a lot of post travel or mush either. Coating is fantastic. It's that sort of slick white coating that Pulsar uses. That's not quite rubberized, but it's quite grippy. So I do like the coating. Build quality is... There's a little bit of side flex if you really push it, but overall there's no creaking. There's no significant flex anywhere during like normal daily use, daily pressing. So build quality is pretty good, not fantastic, but pretty good. And skates are very smooth, albeit a little slow. Software is also very polished, and sensor implementation is quite smooth. I have no issues. So overall, I'm really enjoying this mouse. Moving on, the M800 Mini. On Elo shape, this is basically a Viper Mini, and I've not held a Viper Mini before. Anyway, yeah, the closest thing I have to it is the M800 Ultra, and the jump of quality from this to this is insane. There's a nice grippy coating on this. It's not rubberized, but it's a nice grippy coating. The weight is a little bit more well balanced. This is a little back heavy. This is a lot more well balanced. Clicks are now using TTC opticals or mechanicals. I've seen some places say mechanical, I've seen some places say optical. I don't know which is which. Scroll wheel feels much tighter, much less loose. Side buttons feel about the same. I actually prefer the side buttons on this, but here it has that like sort of ping pong ball, smooth ABS coating that isn't the best, right? It's a little bit grainy. The stock skates are just super impressive. They're practically Tiger Eyes or Unusual Way Magic Eyes. Incredibly smooth, quite fast, fantastic stock skates. And overall, I'm just quite impressed with this mouse as well. Although build quality is kind of lacking, I'm getting a little bit of creaking and a little bit of side flex even just with normal usage pressure compared to the M800 Ultra, which even to this day with a lot of use has very little side flex and no creaking. So unfortunately the build quality did go down slightly, but it's the kind of like flexing and creaking where the tolerance is loose, like the tooling tolerance is loose. It's not because they flex in a little bit and they just stop and then they become very solid again. So I think the tolerance is just a little bit worn down, a little bit loose. If they revamp the tooling and they get fresh tooling again, I think the tolerance would be a lot better. I don't think there's anything to be worried about with the build quality, but it is something I have to note, to be honest. Right, to be honest, in my reviews or in my first impressions. So yeah. Anyway, finally, what I assume most people are here for, the 2C. This is a guilty pleasure mouse for me, and I'll explain why right now. But yeah, just software and battery life and sensor implementation on this is also pretty good. I don't really notice anything wrong with it. The software is just cheap. It's that cheap like OEM software. Nothing too crazy, but not horrible either. It's a good mouse with kind of rough build quality. Anyway, this is a guilty pleasure mouse. The reason why is this. So this is the Incot HCP01M whatever. It's the first mouse that's a true mini GPX shape, and they're very close. And I made this mouse a while back, so holding this is very reminiscent and just very enjoyable. I do like the shape a lot just because it's a thinner grip width. It's a thinner grip width and it has that rounded hump that I really enjoy, which is why originally I was also excited for the Cyrox V. This is the V6, right? Yeah, Cyrox V6. And honestly, the V6 has grown on me a lot just because of the side contouring. I've found ways to adapt to it, and I've been using this a lot more lately. But really, the thing that irks me about the GPX shape is just it's such a potato. Now the HCP01M is surprisingly flatter than the 2C, right? The 2C is actually a little more contoured than the HCP01M, surprisingly. But it's still quite a flat shape, and the hump profile, even though it works really well for me, it's still just such a potato hump, and it's really bulbous to the point where I know I hate this shape once it's enlarged, because I do dislike the GPX shape, right? I find this bulbous hump works a lot more in an ergo where I'm expecting a palm grip for a symmetrical mouse, especially with the way the buttons are sloped. I find that like it just needs some form of comfort groove, some extra like curvature on the sides to give it just a little bit more maneuverability, a little bit more identity to it, because I just find that the shape is such a blob, and I really find myself just not getting anything special out of the shape. The only reason why I like it is because it's small, so the grip width is a lot more in line with what I aim well with, and the bulbous hump really do work well for my hand. The Logitech bulb rounded hump is something I'll always praise. Yeah, I just wish that the button sloping maybe pushed down a little more. Maybe have some comfort groove, some side curvature. I don't know. And for the price, it's just so overpriced. When the V8 exists and it's a superior shape, that I don't see any reason to go for this. Build quality is great. The skates are surprisingly good. Actually, I just got some creak and pop in there, so I guess build quality is not so great. So that's another detractor. The weight is 50 something grams, which is lighter than this. So like, if you want to try the 2C, you get this because you're getting, but like the 2C is gonna be lighter than this. This is like 60 grams. But yeah, build quality. Aside from that, like creak was pretty decent. Clicks are fine. I actually quite enjoy Logitech's optical clicks. Scroll is fine. It sticks out a lot, which I do like. Side buttons are surprisingly not mushy for Logitech, so thumbs up there. I don't know if it's just my copy. Coating is good. The Logitech black rubberized coating. Skates are fine. Skates are actually quite nice. They're well rounded. They're quite speedy. They're not the smoothest thing ever, but it's much smoother than previous Logitech stop skate. And overall, it's a good mouse, but it's just so overpriced for what it is. If this was a more unique shape or just has something more innovative, I guess it would be better, but it would still be not worth it when the V6 exists and other Hadi S Plus clones exist, which I think is the final evolution of a GPX Mini shape, where it actually has some side contouring. It has something that like makes it good for aim, because it's just such a blob. I find myself just aiming way more comfortably and way more confident with the V8. I mean the V6. Sorry. And yeah, even though I like this shape and this is now my travel mouse, I wish it has some more oomph to it, you know? Okay, and I also have to talk about the fact that it finally fixed the side ridge of the GPX, which I hate. I think it looks so unpolished and just really not premium for the price. I'm glad they fixed it, but this is also just my rant on the GPX in general. I would never recommend you go out and buy a GPX in the year 2025. I know that it's technically one of the better sensor implementations, but I'm gonna be honest, most of you are too shit to even notice. Right? Most of you are not good enough to notice the difference in sensor implementation, and there will be no use in buying such an expensive mouse, especially when it's just such an unpolished product and the quality seems to go down day by day. Many reports of broken stuff by now. I just can't wholeheartedly recommend anything GPX, even though I love the DAX shape. I like this shape, and this is my travel mouse. They made some improvement, but they finally fixed the side ridge. I can't recommend this product, unfortunately, or any GPX product, especially with MCHOs really stepping up their game. So yeah, that's just my first impression of these three mice. Hope you guys enjoy, and I'll try and push a review out as soon as I can. With college and just life happening, I can't push them out at the same rate that I used to with the two other reviews, but I hope to, you know, try and pump them out at a reasonable fast rate and not just go absence for months, you know. Anyway, that's gonna wrap it up for this review, and I'll see you guys in another video, I guess.